Today we're diving into an exciting resin printing option I got from a company called JLC3DP. They recently reached out to me offering to let me test their service. Stick around until the end of the video, I've got a little something for you if you'd like to try it out too. Since I had a project that was too large for my own printers, their offer turned out to be perfect timing. I'll show you the entire process of how I ordered this, troubles I had, pricing, but first let's jump right into the unboxing and see how these turned out. So here's how the parts arrived. To start, the packaging is excellent. The cardboard box is sturdy, and I even received 2 sanding discs for a rotary sander as a bonus. Not sure why they were included. Either it was a mistake, or I need to gear up for some serious sanding action with these parts. Let's see. Everything's really secure with a ton of foam padding that kept the print safe during its long way from China into my workshop. Let me carefully take these out and give you a closer look. Since the box is so massive, I'll set it down on the floor and unpack each piece one by one. While I'm doing that, let me share you the story behind this project. Berserk recently created a Two-Face sculpt, which has been a long-awaited addition to my Batman Rogues gallery. I've been wanting to print all of Batman's villains in quarter scale, and with this base having such a large footprint, it felt like the perfect opportunity to do so. Normally I prefer using my FDM printer for bases, but this one has far too many intricate details for FDM to handle effectively. I really wish sculptors would design these small details as separate pieces, allowing the larger parts to be printed with FDM while the finer details are done with resin. For example, the money, bullet shells, or I even ended up removing the fuel flowing out of the can myself, which was part of the base, even though the fuel cans themselves are separate pieces. But the liquid needs to be printed in clear resin, so it made sense to put in that extra work for the best result. And speaking of results, I'm already really impressed just looking at this first part. What's especially interesting is that they've removed all the internal supports. I have no idea how they managed to do that. And I don't see any support marks either. But before we dive into the details, let me show you all the parts. The second piece revealed a small issue. There is a bit of resin residue leaking from somewhere. We'll need to investigate why that's happening because the parts look well washed, aren't tacky at all, and there's no sign of dirty washing liquid. We'll come back to that later once all the parts are on the table. The next 2 parts were printed with white resin. I had selected a random resin to keep the order cost down. Those were the floor pieces, and now let's take our first look at the chair. Check out how precise these 2 prints are. They fit together perfectly with no bending at all. I bet if I had printed this myself on a large enough printer, I wouldn't have gotten results this perfect. The last 2 pieces were also printed with white resin, and once again, they fit together flawlessly. I'm seriously impressed. Across all these parts, I haven't noticed any support marks or defects. Now, let's take a closer look at the details. Check for any remaining support marks and investigate that resin leak issue. And let's start with the elephant in the room, the resin leak. I took another look at the STL file and realized the money stack wasn't modeled very well. On the left you can see the file I originally printed, and on the right is the fixed version they uploaded a few days later. There's an ultra fine gap between the individual bundles of money that slicers don't recognize as a resin trap. In the updated version on the right, you can see a void running from the end of the money bundle all the way down to the base. But in the original on the left, there are solid layers in between. This likely prevented the washing liquid from fully dissolving all the resin inside, which is now slowly leaking out. Since I have no way of knowing whether this is the last bit or if more resin is still trapped, I'll probably just remove these money stacks later and print new ones to be safe. The last thing I want is resin seeping out after I've already painted it. This is a good reminder to always check your files before printing. Some sculptors prioritize aesthetics over printability or might not even be aware of these small issues if they don't print their own models. That's actually why I usually don't print models as soon as they are released. Updates and fixes are pretty common once people start printing them and discovering problems. Now let's take a closer look at the other parts to investigate the details and to search for support marks. You can see the sharpness of the details that are embossed into the money stack, and the surface of the bullets looks really smooth too. Also, all of those sharp edges from the effect of broken wood panels are pretty impressive. Even the underside is perfectly smooth, there are only very tiny support marks along these 2 sides. I've already shown you how well these parts fit together, but here you can see once more how sharp the details look. And again, these are the only support remains I can see. I think by now you can tell that I'm really impressed, so now let me take you through the ordering process that brought this project to life. The ordering process itself is extremely easy, but there are a few things to look out for. JLC3DP makes it super easy to get your designs printed. Their website is simple to use even if you are a beginner, but you should still know a few things which I will also explain now. Let me walk you through these steps I followed to order these prints. This is the landing page. You'll find a link in the description. Scroll down and select 3D printing. And by the way, their build plate is massive. 78 by 78 centimeters with a height of 50 centimeters. So no matter how large your file is, it'll easily fit within their printing capabilities. Next, just drag and drop your STL file. However, one issue you might run into, I certainly did, is the upload size limit, which is currently 85 MB. Many highly detailed 3D models with a high poly count can exceed that limit. But don't worry, there's a solution and I'll walk you through it now, along with a few other things to check before we head back to the website. Before your order can be printed, all uploaded parts are reviewed by an expert to ensure printability. When I uploaded mine, I got feedback that some surfaces were broken and needed fixing. To avoid extra work, here's what you should do if your mesh isn't the best quality or if the file size is too large. Go into Autodesk Mesh Mixer, which you can download for free. Click on Analysis in the toolbar and then choose the first option, Inspector. This feature will look for any problems in the mesh and will fix them automatically. So just hit Auto Repair All. Next, if your mesh is too big, otherwise you can skip the step, choose Select in the toolbar and hit Ctrl+A, which selects your whole mesh and it turns orange. Then you can go to Edit and Reduce. With the slide bar, you can determine how much your mesh is reduced. The original part here was 86 MB big. I reduced it by 50% and it came out at 43 MB afterwards. Now you want to hollow your model by going into the Edit menu and then Hollow. Here you can select the wall thickness, which I changed from 2 mm to 1.4 mm. Click Update Hollow and then Accept. Now your model is hollow and you can insert holes by using the Mesh Mix button in the toolbox and click and drag a cylinder onto your model where you want the hole to be. With that little arrow tip, you can change the size of the cylinder. Then you want to select the base part, hold Shift and select the cylinder, and then the Boolean operation menu opens where you select Boolean difference. And then you have your hole. You shouldn't make the hole like I did here, but you get the point. Finally, just to be safe, run Inspector again for one last auto repair. Now your file is fully optimized and ready for upload. Once you uploaded your part, you'll immediately see an estimated price at the bottom. If you choose X resin, your parts will be placed on any available build plate that has space in an upcoming print job. This can significantly lower the cost. For this part, the price dropped from $23 to $9. However, keep in mind that the X resin doesn't just affect the material cost, it also removes the surface finishing option. For all 8 parts I ordered, the final invoice came to $200, with $100 of that being shipping. Given the size of the prints, I'd say that's pretty reasonable. 9 days after placing my order, the parts arrived, which is pretty impressive considering all the steps involved in resin printing and the fact that the package traveled halfway across the world. To give you a better idea of pricing, I also uploaded a quarter-scale Batman sculpt, which showed an estimated cost of around $120 after selecting the X resin again. The same model in 1/6 scale would just be roughly $30, both excluding shipping. So it's the really big parts that have a lot of volume and weight that are increasing the price significantly. Overall, I'm thrilled with how these prints turned out. JLC3DP made the entire process seamless, from uploading my model to receiving this incredible result. The detail, quality and professionalism they delivered are top-notch. Sure, it might cost more than finding some random guy on Facebook with a resin printer who'll do it for half the price, but with that you never really know if they know what they are doing. I have seen plenty of posts about people buying prints on Etsy only to have a part explode a year later because there was uncured resin trapped inside. So if you're looking for a reliable resin 3D printing service, I'd definitely recommend checking them out. And if you want to give them a try as a new user, you'll get coupons worth $60 for their full line service. Just a heads up, I don't get any commission from this, it's just a discount for you. Let me know in the comments if you've got further questions or if you'd consider giving JLC3DP a shot yourself. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video and want to see how the finished statue will look later, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And I'll see you in the next video.